Welcome to the 2025 K-State Garden Hour webinar series. We are so glad that you're here. This webinar series started in 2020 and has been a collaboration of the entire K-State Horticulture Extension team. Since the start of the program, we have reached over 83,000 gardeners just like you. We are pleased to continue offering K-State Garden Hour series for free. If you have enjoyed this educational webinars, please consider making a tax-deductible donation to support this program. The link to donate can be found in the chat or on our K-State Garden Hour website. This webinar is hosted by the Kansas State University Research and Extension. My name is Kenny Dodson. I'm the horticulture agent for the Wildcat District down in southeast Kansas. Everyone involved in this program and part of the series is an extension professional for K-State. Most of us have a background in horticulture education or related disciplines, but most of all, we each have a love for education and sharing important gardening topics. My favorite part about this series is how many diverse topics we cover and all the information, but also seeing everybody participate in the chat, finding out where everyone's from, what they're growing, and what they're doing. Before we get started, we do have a couple of housekeeping notes to cover. Please use the Q&A feature for questions related to the presentation. This is where we will look for questions at the end of the webinar and during the Q&A session. You should see a button along the bottom tab that says Q&A. Just click on that and you'll be able to enter your question. Today's webinar will be recorded and we will post it to the K-State Garden Hour website. We typically upload additional resources related to each topic as well. If we share links in the chat, you will also link them on the website. Our website also is where you can find access to previous topics and upcoming topics in this series. Our moderators today are Abby Drought and Lane Weens. They will be sharing information throughout the presentation in the chat. They will also help us facilitate the Q&A portion of the webinar. Today's topic is Innovations in Horticulture Research at Kansas State University. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker for today, Cheryl Boyer, who will be accompanied by other K-State faculty to share horticulture research information. Welcome, Cheryl.
Hi, Kenny.
Hi. Please give us a few moments while we transition and share the presentation slides.
Sure, thanks. So first of all, I just want to say how excited I am that so many of you have chosen to join us today in August to hear about research and horticultural research. So my name is Cheryl Boyer. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Horticulture and Natural Resources, and I'm usually the magician behind the scenes managing all the things for this webinar series. So it's kind of unusual for me to be in front of the camera today, but I'm really excited to share what my colleagues and I are doing to support Kansas and our surrounding states in horticulture research. So give me just a second. And if you haven't done the welcome poll, do the welcome poll real quick and we'll go over the results in just a second. All right, let's do share all the things. And how's that look, guys?
Looks great.
Okay, thank you, Terry. All right, so, well, you know what? Is everybody done taking the poll? We can just talk about that real quick. All right, so we're going to end it, and then I'm going to share it so you can see. So the first question is, which of the following K-State Research and Extension facilities conducts horticultural research? If you don't know, we have quite a few research and extension facilities around the state, but they don't all do horticulture. So in this case, the stations that do horticulture research are the John Pear Center on campus in the KSU greenhouses, K-State Olathe, the Olathe Research and Extension Center, the Rocky Ford Research and Extension Center. Oh, I got that wrong. That's in Manhattan. That's not in Olathe. And the ones that on the list that do not are the Agriculture Research Center in Hayes, the Kansas River Valley Experiment Field in Topeka, and the Southwest Research and Extension Center in Garden City. So we have partners there and we always try to support what they're doing, but in terms of dedicated research facilities, the other ones I mentioned are on there. And we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. And then the second question is, which broad horticulture research areas are currently supported by horticulture faculty at K-State? And the answer is all of them. So we have a small but mighty team, and we address environmental horticulture, floriculture, olericulture, which is the production and marketing of vegetables and herbs, pomology, production and marketing of fruit and tree nuts. Of course, we do have those in Kansas, including viticulture and enology, although we don't have a huge focus on that with our current team, and post-harvest physiology. So we're going to hear a lot more about that today, and I hope you're ready for the ride. All right. So I wanted to just set the stage a little bit with a little bit of a reminder of what we do at K-State Research and Extension. So Kansas State University is actually the first operational land-grant institution, and we took on that role in 1863. So learning about the history of K-State might be an entire other presentation, but we have been doing horticulture research in Kansas at Kansas State University since 1863. So it's been a really long time. And we have three missions as part of a land-grant university. We have teaching is probably the one you're most familiar with, followed by research. And then we have extension. And extension is the way that we take the information that we generate at the university and get it to you so that you can make educated decisions to affect your garden, your livelihood, your business if you have one, and all the other things that make life in Kansas thrive. So we've been contributing to that for a long time, and we're excited to share with you what we're doing today. So, oh, I guess I should say what that looks like. You know, that looks like field days. In fact, tomorrow we have our turf and ornamental field day at the Rocky Ford Station in Manhattan. So we're prepping for that industry field day. And sometimes we have public field days where we talk about other projects. So field days, research, taking classes out to participate in learning at our facilities. That's one of the ways that we reach that mission. So I wanted to show this quick video to give you an idea of the background of land-grant universities. So we will get that rolling, hopefully. Is it not going to play? Man, there we go. Can you see it? I'm going to need a host to pop in and tell me if the video is playing on your end.
We see the start screen, but not the video itself yet.
I don't see the video itself either. Well, we may share this in the chat, or we've got it posted on all of our videos, but essentially it goes through the background of how the land-grant university system was created to provide more opportunity and more, a way for everyone to have an opportunity to go to college and make their lives better and to contribute to enhancing society. And we do that at K-State Research and Extension. It played in our practice. All right. So I mentioned land-grant university history, and you can see that all those acts that Congress has created to create the land-grant system. So in 1862, 1890 and 1994, we had moral acts, and those gave us the mandate to teach. And they really started with agriculture, mechanical arts, English, math, science, and each state was given land for this purpose. And some of them, their institution is there. Some of them, they sold it and put it in a different place. But anyway, the teaching came first. In 1887, the Hatch Act added the research component. So that was followed in 1914 by the Smith-Lever Act, which brought us extension. So you can see on the map that we have land-grant institutions all across the country. And in 1890, so 1862, tried to make sure every state had one. 1890, that added our historically Black colleges and universities. And then 1994, those were the Native American universities that are land-grant. And we have one of those in Kansas at Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence. So we're excited to have them as partners. So a little bit more about our department, the Department of Horticulture and Natural Resources. I mentioned the history earlier, and the university, K-State Manhattan, was actually a nursery when it was built. There were tons of orchards and other food production crops, as well as ornamentals, but it was really about how do we help people have the skills and the resources to survive on the prairie. They didn't have grocery stores and they didn't have interstates. So we had to be very self-sufficient with the space that we had in the country. And so we created all sorts of resources to help people make good decisions and have good practices in order to feed themselves and as our country grew and built. And we have continued that practice on and on. And so our department is actually really unique today. The Department of Horticulture and Natural Resources has multiple programs. So our department head is Dr. Steve Keeley, and he is a turfgrass scientist, and he has been leading our department for several years and just doing a wonderful job taking us to new heights. So he's takes care of all of that. So on the teaching and research side, we have 3 undergraduate programs. So we're only going to talk about horticulture research today, but I just wanted you to know that we have, of course, we have a horticulture program, which has several areas of emphasis. And we also have a horticulture minor for people who want to major in other things and have a minor in horticulture. And then we have a program called Parks Management and Conservation that teaches our students how to be park rangers and how to help with all sorts of national and local parks, including municipalities and that perspective. So Parks Management Conservation is a really cool program, as is the Wildlife and Outdoor Enterprise Management Program, which, as you can imagine, is about wildlife, but it also helps people that want to maybe work with hunting and fishing and trapping type businesses. So if you have students in your life or potential students who are interested in that, we are happy to share information with them, and you can find it all on our website, which is hnr.ksu.edu, and all that stuff is there. So if you're interested in graduate programs, we offer let's see, let me get to the slide. We have a master's program and a PhD program. We also have a 3+2 program. So that means that if you come in as an undergraduate and you want to pair that up with a master's program, you can sort of combine that last year of undergraduate and your first year of master's so that you finished both degrees in 5 years. So it adds another layer of flexibility if that's something that you're interested in. And yeah, so we also have a master's specialization in urban food systems, and you're going to hear more about that here in just a few minutes, and a graduate certificate in advanced horticulture. So the graduate certificate in advanced horticulture is an online program. So if you want to participate in that, if you are place-bound, we have a way for you to learn more about horticulture from an academic perspective if you're interested in that and learning that. And that's on our website too. So for the teaching program, we have areas of focus include greenhouse management, floral design, food crop production, landscape management and design, and turfgrass management. And on the research side, we focus on the sustainable production of horticulture food and specialty crops, identification of turf and ornamental landscape plants, and management practices that conserve water and reduce other resource inputs. Improved plant resistance to environmental stresses, enhanced post-harvest handling and microbial safety of fresh produce, and augmentation of health-promoting phytochemicals in food crops. And you'll hear more about all of that as we go through today. And just briefly on the natural resources side, I mentioned some of those areas, but on the parks side, we've got park and protected area management, wildlife habitat management, geospatial science, environmental communication, the outdoor industry, ecotourism, and conservation of natural resources. So the research that team does focuses on visitor use management. How many people is too many people in a park? So what that may look like, they've got environmental interpretation and communication, human dimensions of natural resources, game bird conservation and management, woodland management, agroforestry and ecosystem services, mammal conservation and management, wildlife habitat management, wildlife damage management, which you may have in your gardens, and working lands wildlife management. So I like to say that we all have outdoor jobs, or we're related to outdoor jobs in some way or another. And so together we work to find and prepare people for careers in all of those fields. So just briefly, the number of people that we have in our department, we've got about 25 faculty that spread. We all have split appointments. So for example, my appointment is 75%. FTE stands for full-time equivalent. So I'm 75% extension and 25 research. And so we all have a little bit different splits on how we spend our time. We have around 245 undergraduate students. We don't have numbers in for this fall yet, of course, and that changes every year just a little bit, but about 100 students in horticulture, 70 in parks management and conservation, and 70 in wildlife and outdoor enterprise management. And we have 36 graduate students, the largest group of which is horticulture. So you will be introduced to some more of these students as we move forward. So, your welcome poll asked you some questions about where we do horticulture research and extension. Where are our facilities? So we have quite a few, and administratively, they're structured a little bit differently internally to K-State, but everybody is tied to Horticulture and Natural Resources Department. And so from that perspective, we have the KSU Gardens, which is in Manhattan, and we have the KSU Greenhouses in Manhattan. The Rocky Ford Turfgrass Research Center is also in Manhattan. And we have the Geyer Forestry and Willow Lake Student Farm. It's up by Tuttle Creek Lake, and that's in Manhattan. In Hayesville, we have the John Pear Center. And in Olathe, we have both the Research and Extension Center and K-State Olathe. So those teams work very, very closely together, and you'll hear more about that as we go on. So who are all of these people that do this work? So as I mentioned, this is our extension team. Some of us have split appointments. Some of us are focused all on extension. So you may likely be very familiar with Annie Baker. She's our State Master Gardener Program Coordinator. Dr. Manreet Bhullar is in food safety, and he is located at K-State Olathe. I'm your nursery crop production and marketing specialist here in Manhattan. Dr. Jack Fry is commercial turfgrass, and tomorrow is his very last day at our turfgrass and ornamental field day at Rocky Ford, and we're celebrating his retirement right after that. So we're sad to see him go, but happy to see him off into his retirement years. So he's already making big plans for that. You may have met Dr. Joe Gherkin. He is on the wildlife team, and he focuses on ponds, fish, and aquatic weeds. Dr. Jason Griffin is our woody plants and industrial hemp specialist, and he does a little bit of everything. So you'll hear more from him shortly. Dr. Drew Ricketts does wildlife management, and he also, all the critters. He's the critter guy. Dr. Carrie Rivard will be joining us. He is our fruits and vegetables specialist. Irina Sheshukova is our newest specialist, and she does floral design. So if you have not heard about that extension program, you can find it on our website, and it's growing, pretty exciting. Christy Dittman is our events coordinator, and Terry Roberts, who is on the webinar today, is our training support specialist. So she makes everything happen on the back end. So we're super grateful for her. And then Mariah Dre is a grant funded extension assistant, and she works with the Native American nations. So you may hear more about the work that she does at some point in the future. So we do have other faculty that have split appointments with teaching that maybe focus on horticulture, on research as well. They also may direct a research center, and that was true of some of our extension folks too. So this isn't duplicated, but here are some of the other people on our team. So Adam Ehlers is, and I forgot, he's a doctor. Dr. Adam Ehlers is a professor, associate professor in wildlife and outdoor management. He also is the undergraduate teaching program coordinator. Dr. Ross Braun is our turfgrass and landscape management. Dr. Cody Domagini is landscape management. Dr. Sungham Park is crop functional genomics. Dr. Brian Peterson, park management and conservation. Dr. Eleni Pliaconi, urban food production and post-harvest evaluation. Dr. Ravneet Sandhu, IPM, integrated pest management of fruit crops. Dr. Stuart Sprague does landscape management, and Dr. Kimberly Williams, greenhouse management. And we have lots of other people that also contribute to the work that we do as well. So it's a broad team that does lots of work. So we're going to launch right into the next part of our program, which is divided into, it's sort of grouped. So we're going to talk about specialty crops and urban food systems first, and then we're going to talk about turfgrass and ornamental specialty crops next. So this team is Dr. Bhullar, Dr. Park, Dr. Pliaconi, Dr. Rivard, and Dr. Sandhu. And this section of the presentation is organized in a farm to fork sort of organization. So we like to think about all the way from the genetic work that we're doing in labs to your plate. And we contribute all along that supply chain to making things better. So we're going to start with Dr. Park's lab. Dr. Park does functional genomics, as we mentioned earlier, and he was able to simplify the complex work that he does into these short statements. So he really works deeply with anthocyanins, and those are the vibrant red, purple, and blue colors that are known as cancer-protecting, water-soluble plant secondary metabolites. But he works specifically with tomatoes. He works with several different crops, but in tomatoes, they usually contain very little anthocyanin. So one of his research goals of his lab is to develop the world's highest anthocyanin carrying tomato through genetic bioengineering for colorectal cancer prevention. So his goal is really to enhance quality of life all throughout the supply chain all around the world. So he's doing that detailed lab work to figure that out. So on the next slide, you're going to see what that looks like. The Park Lab has successfully developed the world's highest, so far, anthocyanin enriched bioengineered purple tomatoes, which I have to say, like, yes, anthocyanins tend to look purple, but go K-State, right? We've got purple tomatoes. He's developed lots of purple produce that has high anthocyanin contents. So in this case, they're looking for these tomatoes. You've got a regular cherry tomato on the left and a bioengineered purple cherry tomato on the right, and they contain up to 24 milligrams per grams dry matter of anthocyanins. So he's working on projects like that, and he has others, but that's a pretty big goal of his lab. So in the next slide, we are going to switch to Dr. Carrie Rivard telling us a little bit more about the food systems work. Carrie, are you on?
I am. I'm right here.
Yay, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Cheryl. And, thanks again to everybody that's joining us to learn today about some of the work that we're doing. As Cheryl mentioned, we do have a very much a farm to fork approach in terms of especially crop research and working with produce crops. So Dr. Park does a lot of the genomics work and sort of genetics work. I'm a production specialist, so I try and learn how to grow bigger, better tomatoes that are going to provide more income for farmers and more profitability, hopefully, in the long run. I am located here at the Olathe Horticulture Research and Extension Center, which you can see a picture of there on the left. We have about 350 acres here, and we probably use about 100 of that for our horticultural research crop activities. And we don't just have fruit and vegetables, we also have turf and landscape, a small bit of forestry, and a little bit of floriculture as well. One of the main focus areas in our lab, sorry, go back there for a second,
Oh,
Cheryl.
sure.
Okay. One of the main focuses in our lab has been for a very long time looking at high tunnel production, and this has really started before I got to K-State 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, I should say. And because Kansas has just very erratic weather, it's very difficult to grow vegetables here. And so one of the things that our growers have figured out real quickly is by utilizing these very primitive greenhouses, or what we call high tunnels, we can produce better crops more effectively, more consistently on a year-to-year basis. And this year's a perfect example of where a high tunnel is very helpful. If you didn't get plants in early, they didn't get a good fruit load, and then we got all this rain in mid to late summer, then all of our tomatoes are, dying and wilting and causing all kinds of problems. So we do a lot of work in tunnels. We used to do a lot of systems work comparing open field to high tunnel production, but now we're working more within the tunnel, looking at soil health factors, economics, production practices, and we've done a lot of collaborative work with Doctors Pliaconi, Bular, and Jenkins, looking at how growing in the tunnels affects nutritional quality, shelf life, and food safety. Okay, Cheryl. Another big topic in our lab has also been looking at the use of grafted tomato plants. For those of you that don't know, vegetable grafting has become of much interest here in the last 10 years here in the US. And we've been able to do a tremendous amount of research in this area. I don't know how many graduate students we've had work in this, but we've done all types of things from how to grow better grafted plants to looking at the rootstocks. We've done collaborative work looking at rootstock microbe interactions with the plant pathology department, and a lot of work with the K-State Olathe team looking at the nutritional quality and the shelf life After we graft tomatoes, they increase the yield. How does that affect nutritional quality? So we've had a lot of fun in that program over the years. In the last 5 years or so, we've really been doing less actual research with grafting and more extensions. So one of the things that became very clear quickly is that there was nobody in the area producing grafted plants, and we did train some nurseries, but they were sort of didn't work out very well. So at some point, we actually just started producing grafted plants for farmers in the region. I think this year we did about 15,000 plants. Last year was about 14,000. So we've been above 10,000 plants per year for a number of years now. And one of the things that's fun about that is we've done a lot of on-farm research in the past. So we know that each grafted plant that we provide for a grower in Kansas is going to add about 11 pounds of fruit per plant by using these vigorous rootstocks that increase yield. So based on our rough estimations, based on our data, we've helped increase almost 1 million pounds of local tomatoes since 2016 as a result of that program. Okay, Cheryl. And the last research area that I wanted to point out was really new for us as of last year. We've got a couple different grants to help support this work, and that's really looking to understand how agrivoltaics could be utilized for growing specialty crops in Kansas. Um, for those of you who don't know, agrivoltaics is basically the idea of growing crops around solar panels. And so there's been a lot of interest both from the energy producing companies as well as our farmers, as well as policymakers and other influencers in the state that are really interested in identifying if we can utilize these systems. And one of the nice things for us is because we have these great collaborators over at Olathe and the Postharvest Physiology Lab, I can look at the yield, Elaney looks at the nutritional quality, Manreet looks at the food safety factors, and then we can pull that all together for an interdisciplinary approach. The other thing that we've been doing in addition to growing crops in and around these solar panels is we're also just adding more solar to our farm and our farm functions. So actually, as of yesterday, our farm is 100% carbon free in our irrigation system. And that's not just for our vegetables, but our turf as well. We've been putting a lot of investments into making our irrigation system solar powered in the last 5 years. We also have a new project with the SARE program, developing a solar powered produce cooler that's going to start this fall. Okay, Cheryl? And then last but not least, I did just want to talk for a minute about our extension programs here. So one of the main programs, we do have extension activities related to all of our research. But one of our major extension programs here is called Growing Growers. And this is basically a beginning farmer program that launched. This is actually our 21st year of Growing Growers. And for a very long time, it was really just based around the Kansas City area. And basically, we locate apprentices on farms so they can learn directly from commercial farmers. And then we would do sort of like a workshop series at the same time for those apprentices. In the last 5 years, we've changed it to an online format. So we have an online course that you can enroll in through our website. And then our apprentices can take that course. And the nice thing about that is we've been able to expand throughout Kansas and now also into Missouri through the help of a USDA grant. So we're excited about all the work that's happening with Growing Growers these days. Okay. Cheryl asked me to talk about a couple of the other researchers that also weren't able to make it today due to schedule conflicts. Dr. Ravneet Sandhu is also located here at the Olathe Horticulture Center, and she doesn't have an extension appointment. She's a teaching and research professor, or assistant professor, I should say. And she's fairly new here to K-State as well, but she's really been charged with trying to help our fruit growers here in the region do better at growing fruit and successfully and profitably. So she's been really busy since arriving last year, working with our strawberry growers, and we had a couple of different strawberry trials here at the research station this year. She's also been helping with our high tunnel, some of our fruit trials in the high tunnels, and she has a student, Shabam, right now, who's doing a great job managing all of those things as well. Also, I was going to talk a little bit about Dr. Pliaconi's work. So Eleni Pliaconi is the lead for our post-harvest physiology lab. One thing I should mention is there is another professor over at the Olathe campus that works with Dr. Pliaconi, and her name is Dr. Tricia Jenkins. She's actually a graduate of the H&R department, but she's not technically in our department because she's, for some long administrative details you all don't need to know about, she's technically within the department at the K-State Olathe campus, but we work closely with her all the time. In fact, I just logged off from a meeting with Trisha and Eleni for a student defense right before here. So the two of them, Dr. Jenkins and Dr. Pliaconi, really tag team the post-harvest side, and we have a strength here at Kansas State University within post-harvest research because of the great work that those two do. Now, if you don't know, post-harvest is basically looking at all the things that happen to the plant after they're harvested, right? And so that's going to include shelf life and nutritional quality, as well as other things that can impact that. And we've had a really nice collaboration over the last decade or so looking at how different growing methods affect nutritional quality and shelf life. Okay. The other thing that's been kind of new for us here in Olathe is we've been getting more into food systems work, and Dr. Jenkins has really been a leader on that as well as Dr. Pliaconi. And we currently have this thing called this GRIP research project, which is funded through Kansas State University as part of the Department of Commerce. And what their goal is was really to develop these transdisciplinary research teams in order to go after bigger USDA grants. And so we have an active project right now looking at food systems, trying to understand how different urban agriculture sites like community gardens, greenhouse operations, high school gardens impact the communities around them and how they contribute to the well-being of the public and the communities living in those areas. Okay. Dr. Pliaconi is also the leader of our Urban Food Systems Initiative. So Cheryl mentioned earlier, we do have a graduate degree, both professional track and a master's thesis degree within the Urban Food and Systems Initiative. We're also doing a fair bit of research, as mentioned before, and Growing Growers is one of our major extension outlets for that initiative. Okay. So just to mention a little bit about the graduate programs in case you have an interest. One of the things that was new just maybe 2 years ago is we also have a graduate certificate in urban food systems. So if you're interested in taking some graduate classes, but you don't want to take 36 hours that are required for a full master's degree, you can take 12 hours and get a graduate certificate in urban food systems. And so we have folks that are doing that not only out in the world that are professionals, but also like a PhD student in entomology can get a graduate certificate in urban food systems. So that's been kind of a fun thing and brought more people to our program. There's also the traditional Masters of Science in urban food systems as well. And those happen as a thesis track, a professional track. And we also have a completely online track, actually. So the defense I was just in was an online student. She works for Lincoln University, which is in Missouri, but she's actually located in California. So she took all of her classes from California. She just defended her thesis this morning from California. And so, it's just sort of reflecting the new world that we live in, where, a person can live in California, get a master's degree from K-State University, and work at University of Missouri all at the same time. Okay.
Amazing.
Next slide. And then I think it should be the last of my slides, is just to mention the Urban Food System Symposium. So Dr. Pliaconi is the convener of that. But all of us here in the Urban Food Systems program, including myself and Dr. Bular and Dr. Sandhu and Dr. Jenkins, all contribute to the symposium. And this happens every 2 years. Last year in 2024, it was in Columbus, Ohio. So we were able to convince our colleagues at Ohio State to help us with that. This year, we are bringing it back to Kansas City, so that'll be in 2026 in the fall, and it'll be down at the Plaza, I believe at the Marriott, if you have an interest. But you can definitely check out the website to learn more.
More information. Okay. Let's see.
Right. Hello, everybody. My name is Manpreet Bowler. Thank you for joining. So I'll be talking about the research program that focuses on fresh produce safety, all the microbial safety stuff around fresh fruits and vegetables. And the picture very well highlights what I do and what I try to avoid contamination of the fresh produce grown on the farm. So this model fresh produce farm reflects very well about all the contamination risks present on the farm. And on the right side is the research program that covers the entire supply chain, starting from the production until the retail. Wherever there is a potential for contamination to occur, that's our target research area. Next. So just to begin with, this was ongoing before I joined K-State in 2020. We do a free agriculture water testing. So if you are a grower in the state of Kansas and you grow fresh produce for sale, K-State offers free water testing both at Olathe and Manhattan labs. So far, we have tested more than 1,100 samples, and surface waters have been identified as the highest contamination sources as anticipated. So this is the data that we collected from both of the states, Kansas and Missouri, as the previous person working in this position worked for both for the state of Kansas and Missouri. So
Nope. Were you done?
Yep, that's perfect. Go
Okay.
ahead. Yep. So we identified surface waters are having the highest contamination. So what's next? What are some of those management strategies or technologies available out there that could be used to decontaminate that water? So we bring some expertise in UV light technologies, and we know it works great with water, but its application in agriculture water systems is very limited. So we bought some commercially available devices from the market, tested them at the Olathe Horticulture Research Center, treating the pond water. That's a retainer pond that you see on the first picture on the left top. And we used water from the creek, both filtered and unfiltered creek water for testing with these UV devices. It works great. We have all the data on this web-based tool, the QR code that you see on the screen. You can try it and let us know if it works for you. Again, the focus here is to provide all the resources to our growers with the applied research focus. Next. We also do a lot of work with hydroponic nutrient water. Again, the same focus here with UV light technologies to treat the nutrient water, although these systems are relatively safer, but still there's a potential for contamination. So we treat this water with UV light as a check on the microbial safety, so no contamination occurs from the water to the roots and to the plants. And we also worked on reusing this water for multiple crop cycles. So within the scope of this project, we tested the water for 6 continuous cycles, and there is no significant difference on the quality. So the same hydroponic nutrient solution water could be used for multiple cycles without wasting water, the resource. Next.
Right.
This is,
Oh, did you want to set it up? Sorry.
go ahead.
Okay. Oops.
So
Please
so
don't
this
go
is
back. Hold on.
This
There we go.
is one of the another cool projects that we worked on. So some of the European countries banned the plastic sticker that you find on fresh produce. That's a plastic and a glue. Both of them are environmental contaminants. And this is mostly dedicated towards a larger scale produce industry. So we came up with this idea of etching a QR code onto the produce to provide all that information without using any chemical or any environmental contaminant. You can play the video for 10, 15 seconds.
This is so cool, guys. Check it out. Now it's not going to play.
Okay, that's fine. I mean,
Well,
I can paste the link in the
let's
chat
see if
box.
it reloads. You guys, my videos today.
That's okay. But do you ever find this technology commercially applied? Just remember that's a K-State innovation.
That's right. This is so cool. So next time you see a QR code etched on the produce in your local grocery store, that was an innovation from our team. So yeah, thank you. If you can get that link, I would love for
Yep,
people to be able to watch
I'll add
that.
it. Yep,
It's
after
only
I'm
a
done.
minute. It's only a minute long, but it's super cool.
Okay, I guess happy
Oh,
day.
now it's not going to do it. All
I've
right.
added it in the chat.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you. Again, another application of UV light technology, primarily focused on medium and large scale industry, as the cleaning and sanitation of this RPC containers. That's this reusable plastic container, most widely used in the fresh produce industry, but again, its cleaning is a challenge. So we came up with this idea of developing this UV prototype that provides this UV light exposure from all 4 sides, along with the combination of sanitizer treatment. This was done in collaboration with the Technology Development Institute at K-State, and we have tested that at a couple of farms here in Kansas providing greater than 99% reduction of contamination on these food contact surfaces. We are planning to take this tunnel to East and West Coast, the produce growing regions, for on-farm validation and making an impact beyond Kansas. Next.
Amazing.
This is one of the another cool projects that got funded last year for the lab. We are trying to do something different than a typical classroom setting training. So we are planning to bring some good food safety practices from East and West Coast farms that are doing it in a much better way than what we do here in Kansas in terms of the scale of production and also in terms of food safety practices. So the plan is to take you to the farm, the real case scenario, while you are in the room in a training session. So we are working on collecting some scripts and footages of those food safety practices, and we plan to supplement that along with our produce safety trainings in the future. This is my lab team. I have a research associate, Caitlin Stull, second from the left, and 5 graduate students, Vikas, Millicent, Kafui, Sagar. Markana is not in the picture here. And if you have any questions about the research program or the extension services, please feel free to reach out to us at producesafety@ksu.edu. And that's my email there, MS Buller. And we also have a lab website where we post all the updates on all of our research projects.
All right. Thank you so much, Manri. Thank you, Carrie. Let's see. There we go. Isn't that cool? I just think it's so fun to learn about and celebrate the cool work that they're doing to both help us make sure there's enough food and more food and that it's safe at every level. So please check those resources out. There's a ton in the chat. There's so much to learn. But we have a really cool team here at K-State in the Horticulture and Natural Resources Department. So we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about turfgrass and ornamental specialty crops. So this is our team, and it's kind of a mix of some of the slides earlier. You can see you've got me for specialty crops, Ross Braun, turfgrass, Cody for landscape, Jack for commercial turfgrass, Jason for woody plants and industrial hemp and other stuff, and Stu Sprague for landscape, and Kim Williams for greenhouse. So we are going to march right on through some of that content. So I'm up first. So I'm the nursery crop production and marketing specialist, and my work has really changed a lot over my time at K-State, which I think is 17 or 18 years. It's been a bit. And, it has evolved because, our job in research and extension is to sort of find out what the needs are and then go there to help provide solutions. So what I've done has really changed over time. When I first got here, I worked on alternative potting materials. So we chipped up those invasive eastern red cedars and figured out how to grow plants in them. And we can still do that. But things have shifted over time, and I've been able to participate in all parts of the supply chain process, from working with breeders of ornamentals to the growers who are producing them, to retail garden centers that are selling them, and the end consumer who is consuming them and has lots of questions about what is best and how do I, spend my limited resources to get the most bang for my buck. So we try to navigate that for you all and help you figure out how to use your resources the best you can. So my program is really on the research side is all of us who have research extension appointments have very integrated programs. So they inform one another. The research informs the extension and the extension informs the research. So the 3 main areas that I have that have a research tie are production, culture, and use of ornamental nursery crops, new media marketing and e-commerce for horticulture businesses, and I do a lot of work with the Scholarship of Extension. So to tell you a little bit more about that, on the nursery crop side, I still do a little bit of work with alternative potting materials, or substrates as they're known. There's integrated pest management work that is part of that process. Also, we do a lot of surveying things. So as you can tell, I'm kind of the digital person. So I've learned a lot about how to do surveys. And so we've investigated what practices that nursery growers do and what their barriers are, what their challenges are, how we can help them figure things out. So for example, on nursery industry practices, we recently published a paper on the drivers of native plant production. So, we all, there's a lot of interest in native plants, and they're not always abundantly available in the garden center. And there are reasons for that from the production side. So we're able to sort of investigate those, find out what those barriers are, and try to help mitigate and provide solutions so that we can have greater access to those plants that are desired by consumers. I also do work with consumer preferences. So a couple years ago, we had a project looking at a plant that was a bulb, the Achaemenes project, and we looked at consumer preferences for that plant and whether or not it was useful in the landscape. Turns out it's not so great, which is an answer. So, sometimes the results maybe aren't what you hoped they were, but they're still an answer. So we know to tell you not to waste your money on that plant, but it's a pretty good house plant. So those are some interesting ways we approach research. I also was able to collaborate on a project in the landscape architecture department where we investigated consumer preferences for naturalistic landscape styles. So that was a really fun project too, and many of you may have participated in that survey. So thank you. On the marketing side, I work in new media marketing and e-commerce. So we try to understand the digital, the barriers to adoption of digital technologies. A lot of people who get into horticulture get into it because they like growing things and getting their hands dirty, and it's not necessarily their favorite activity to be on the computer. And so we try to help them curate that content and make it easier and more efficient for them so that they can be smart about how they spend their time and how they can access resources to help them be more successful in those realms that may not be their favorite wheelhouse. So and as part of that, we identify best practices for social media, new media marketing, and then try to understand consumer preferences. So what will consumers respond to in a social media marketing post, for example? Like are they driven by price or by the presence of people in the photo, or just communication, the messages. So that has been a collaboration with ag communication and ag economics. So I like to collaborate broadly and get people to help me figure things out for the skill set that I don't have. I was trained on how to grow plants and how to measure them and how to kill them and measure them some more, and not necessarily how to do a survey and how to figure out a return on investment. So we collaborate broadly within our institution and outside of our institution to find solutions for those challenges that we maybe not are best equipped for. So I'd also do a fair bit of scholarship of extension, which looks like programming. So needs assessment, program evaluation, all those emails that you get about garden hour are coming from me. So you can blame me if you get too many, but the program evaluation for this and the long-term one that we do later in the fall that you will get. And that is a collaboration with all of our extension professionals all across the state. So this is our program that we do together. And we learn how to navigate those systems so that we can help figure out if we're spending our time on the right things and really making a difference for the state of Kansas. So also, use of our extension learning resources, digital tools for extension programming, evaluating those are all things that I am interested in from both an extension and a research perspective. And I have two students. So Alex Stanton is a PhD student. He is working in landscape management. Drought mitigation is a particular focus of his project. And he's also very interested in extension scholarship. So how are industry and homeowners, consumers, using the extension resources that we create to help you make better decisions? Are we effective? Can we do it better? What should we do differently or next? And then Lily Nelson is a master's student. She started on Monday. So she's been here for not even 3 days yet. And she's going to work on horticulture and natural resources needs assessment and evaluating our alumni to figure out how we can do things better and to help us work on student recruiting and new media marketing for our department. So those are some things that we work on. And as part of that, my team created a thought center called the Center for Rural Enterprise Engagement. And so when we started, all of us were here at K-State. So myself, Hikari Peterson is in ag economics. She's at the University of Minnesota now. And Laurie Baker is an ag communicator, and she is at the University of Florida now. And so together we help agricultural small business owners grow their businesses online through generating knowledge about new media marketing for rural-based businesses. But it really is about, rural and urban. We're trying to help everybody and navigate situations that will help them be able to stay and thrive in their locations. But we do it typically through the lens of horticulture, because that's my area of interest. So a lot of our examples will be horticulture business examples, because that is what I am interested in. All right. So our next speaker, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Jason Griffin.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Yeah, so welcome. Thanks for sticking on here a little bit. So I'm going to give you a kind of a little walk through the John Fair Horticulture Center and some of the work that we do here. That we participate in horticulture. You got questions, we got answers, kind of a slogan we use around here. You might question my decision for pirating a 1990s Radio Shack slogan, but I don't think there's any Radio Shacks left to come after me, so we'll stick with that. So the Pear Center, so I was trained in woody plants, stress physiology, but we get all the questions here. People drive in, we have phone calls, emails. So we need to kind of view ourselves as a horticulture center for the southern part of the state, the larger region. And we try to do our best to meet those needs, answer those questions when they come in. We're sitting at about 120-acre field lab. We have 2 full-time staff, 1 seasonal worker in the summer. The Kansas Forest Service South Central Community Forester is housed here. So he's here a few days a week when he's not out in the communities helping with their urban forests. And then we usually have around 3, 4, 5, if we're lucky, summer students that help us during the growing season. So if any of you have children or grandchildren in the Wichita area looking for an outside job in the summer, send them my way next year. Historically, our research and extension focus has been on landscape horticulture, woody plants, production, propagation, evaluation of new species, selection of and breeding for new woody plants. Turfgrass as well. We currently have National Turfgrass Evaluation Program test plots for tall fescue, and we just recently planted a new Bermuda grass plot. They are both appropriate for our area. They are both focusing on drought tolerance. In fact, the tall fescue was planted last fall and has not received a drop of irrigation from us this year. Those were the protocols. No supplemental irrigation. And even though we average around 29 inches of rain a year, precipitation a year, we are currently sitting at 28. So we've almost received our full annual allotment of precipitation currently. We can still see plenty of drought stress in those tall fescue plots. So even with a bunch of rain this year, we're still seeing drought stress without supplemental irrigation. We also have when it comes to turfgrass, we have demonstration plots for buffalo grass and zoysia grass. City of Wichita, Sedgwick County, larger Sedgwick County has been under water restrictions now for a little over a year. So water restrictions, drought tolerant species is a very important topic these days. And we try to expand a little bit. We've been doing pumpkin evaluations for the last couple of years. We did garlic last year. We've been doing industrial hemp since 2019. We've partnered with our friends in agronomy, and we've done wheat plots the last 2 years and oilseed sunflowers. So we literally are trying to do a little bit of everything. Graduate student currently, Emily Rowe, is working on clonal propagation of male eastern red cedars. We'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide, but you can also keep up with us on social media if you want to see what we're up to at some of the Facebook and Instagram pages over there on the right. Next one, please. So Emily's project is looking at clonal propagation of male eastern red cedars. That is a project we're partnering with the Kansas Forest Service to accomplish these goals. Kansas Forest Service, as you probably know, sends out tens of thousands of seedlings, conservation seedlings every year. And a major part of that is eastern red cedar. It's still our best windbreak. It's still one of the best evergreen conifers for our landscapes. So a lot of people are interested in planting eastern red cedars, and we also know eastern red cedar is a very weedy species if left unchecked. So part of their goal was, what if instead of sending out thousands of seedlings, which are roughly half male, half female, what if we could clonally propagate male eastern red cedars only and just ship out male plants so we wouldn't have seed-bearing, cone-bearing eastern red cedars out there. Sounds like a great idea, but Eastern red cedar does not propagate very well from cuttings. Our first attempt was about 1,000 cuttings, and we had 2 roots. 2 out of 1,000, not very good numbers. Our last effort, we were hovering right around 50%. So we're getting a little bit better, and hopefully we can nail in on that 60 to 70% for people interested in propagating male Eastern red cedars. We're also interested in lots of woody plants. We're looking at red maple evaluations. It's a really popular plant, but probably not the best one for us. Same thing goes for river birch. It's a really popular landscape plant, but it's got some landscape issues. We're trying to identify improved germplasm for South Central Kansas in particular, for high pH soils and drought restrictions. We have several different species that we are looking at releasing in the future: Chinese pistache, coffee tree, shantung maples. We've got some firs from the Mediterranean region. They're doing really well for us, magnolias and crab apples. So we've got some new plants hopefully to release in the next couple of years. We have a large program looking at organic sweet potatoes. We are a very large producer of certified organic sweet potato slips, which is basically an unrooted 8 to 10 inch shoot. If you wanted to grow a sweet potato, you would get a slip from us, plant that slip in the ground. It would root and grow on throughout the summer. So we're shipping roughly 175,000 slips across the country each spring, which is why we need those young people to help us in the summer. We are looking at cultivar evaluations again of the pumpkins, garlic. We did potatoes this year. Again, trying to get to those answers to those questions. When people walk in the door with their sick plants and they want to know what the problem is, we can offer some advice with some experience that we've actually grown the plant before. The NTEP trials we mentioned. We're also collaborating with our local Site One, looking at a product called Moisture Manager. It is a product you would put on your turf grass that would reduce the number of irrigation cycles you would have to run by roughly 50%. We were hoping for a drouthy year so we could actually test that, but when it rains as frequently as it has this year, not much Moisture Manager is necessary. Hopefully we'll continue that next year. And of course, we're looking at industrial hemp. There's a bunch of varieties out there. It was a really hot topic 5 years ago, with less so now, but the growers that are still doing it are pretty interested and have scaled up to commercial size. So our efforts are to support them in that effort. And again, like I said, we've been partnering with some of our colleagues in agronomy to look at some wheat plots. We've had wheat variety plots 2 years in a row now, oilseed sunflowers 2 years in a row. All of our work here involves cover crops. We don't have an actual research program on cover crops. We just use cover crops as a tool so that none of our soil is bare in the winter or the summer, to reduce soil erosion, help increase organic matter, and reduce the amount of our soil that leaves the station when the wind blows. So we feel like we can talk pretty knowledgeable on cover crops as well, since we've been growing those for about 20 years. That's a really, really brief snapshot of the work that we're doing here, and I will pass it back to you, Dr. Boyer.
All right, thank you, Jason. I think it's fair to say that all of us we could all do more than an hour presentation on our programs. So we're trying to fit a lot into a short period of time. I'm going to zoom through the last few people on our team, just so you have a broad idea of what we do. And then we'll try to have a couple minutes for questions. And Jason, you did have a question in the Q&A, if you maybe want to try to get to that. So Ross Braun is our turfgrass researcher, and he's got several graduate students, and he works on environmental contributions that turfgrass adds, sod production, Kentucky bluegrass, and just lots and lots of projects that will be featured at our field day tomorrow. So he has a lot going on. And, really he's looking at low input processes and low input systems and solutions for better sod production and managing inputs. He also looks at zoysia grass hybrids for golf courses and understanding the effects of seed coating during establishment and seed storage. Dr. Cody Domagini is primarily teaching faculty, and his research projects really center around ornamental ground covers and turfgrass responses to drought. He has one grad student, Levi Dreeling, and he's working at getting turf and ornamentals that can tolerate less water. So that is a main feature of what he works on. He also does a fair bit of scholarship of teaching, which means that he is publishing work and research on the art and practice of teaching. So those are some different projects that he works on. And then our last researcher that we're going to feature today is Dr. Kimberly Williams, and she is our greenhouse management specialist. So she has projects in two primary areas, the first one being floral crops production and handling, and she has 4 students working on different aspects of the floral crops process. So greenhouse production, it has a lot of moving parts as well, understanding plant chlorosis by looking at what's happening in microbial activity, understanding foliar bleaching, ivy geranium, optimizing glycerin and water ratio to preserve eucalyptus for cut flowers, and looking at optimizing rooting of new pothos varieties. So those are her floral crop production and handling projects. And then she also works with hydroponic crop production, and she has 3 students working on projects, or 4 students working on projects related to that, which is has a lot to do with growing plants in hydroponic systems composed primarily of water. So looking at fertilizer and the water quality, and that last one is studying uptake of nanoplastics in hydroponic lettuce. So we're really covering the gamut here at Kansas State University in the Department of Horticulture and Natural Resources. And we wanted we're grateful for the opportunity to tell you about some of the work that we're doing. So with that, we're over time because there's a lot of us. I don't know if we have any questions we want to tackle as a group or if we want to wrap it up. So Lane, you are the Q&A moderator
I
today,
am
yes?
the Q&A, and it looks like Dr. Griffin is taking care of that one last question for us. So if you have any other hard questions for Cheryl, go ahead and put them in the chat now. But I think...
And otherwise, our emails are on the website. Please reach out to us, or you can always email your local extension horticulture professional, and they will contact us and get answers right away too. So thank you for being here and being part of the program. We're excited and happy to be able to highlight our good work. Kenny, take it
Okay.
away.
Well, we typically have more questions than we have time for, but we'll be sure to link several resources related to this topic on our website. We hope these resources will help you answer your questions, but if you need any further information, please contact your local K-State Extension office in your county. Once again, thank you for joining the K-State Garden Hour series, hosted by the K-State Research and Extension. We are so glad you could be here with us today to learn about innovations in research. You can visit the K-State Garden Hour website to view our recorded Garden Hour archives or to make a tax-deductible donation to support the continuation of this webinar series. This session was recorded and will be posted on the website by tomorrow afternoon. After this webinar ends today, you will receive a prompt to take an evaluation survey, and please fill this out. We would greatly appreciate any feedback. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at gardenhour@kstate or gardenhour@ksu.edu. Thank you again. We hope to continue to offer this each month. Have a great week.